That's it.
Hello everyone, and welcome to our Year 1-2 class talk. I have muted you, so we shouldn't be able to hear any feedback coming through, so I do apologise if you're currently saying hello and your computer's saying that you're muted. That is on purpose. But what I would say is, could you please write any questions that you've got into the chat function, and then once Miss Maddox and Miss Jones's chat is over, we'll go through those questions at the end. Okay, so we've just got a few more people who are coming in at the moment, so I'll just keep letting them in, but I must tell you that I am going to be recording the meeting, so if you do not wish to have your beautiful face on our video, which will go on the school's YouTube and the class website, then turn your video off now. Okay, I'm now going to hand over to Miss Maddox and Miss Jones for our Year 1-2 class talk.
Thank you, Mrs. Forrester. Hello everybody, thank you very much for joining us. What we will do after this meeting's finished is we'll put the link for this video onto both of our class pages, and then that way anyone who's missed this evening will still be able to watch it. So thank you for joining us. Obviously we're really sad that we're not able to meet you in person, but hopefully this will answer lots of your questions and help you to get to know us a little bit better as well. Thank you, Mrs. Forrester. So we'll share all the information on our class pages, and the link will be sent out to everybody as well. So what we're going to run through is what a week looks like in Year 1 and Year 2, lunchtimes, curriculum, information about trips and residentials, some sort of general sort of ideas so you can get a feel for what learning in reading, writing and maths looks like across Key Stage 1. We'll give you a little bit more information about homework. It'll be slightly different for both classes, so definitely keep an eye on the class pages. SATs, the dreaded SATs, so we'll go through what's going to happen with those, the phonics screen as well, and then as Mrs. Forrester said, any questions that you might have we will cover at the end. Want to go through this one? Yeah.
So PE days for Rabbit class is on a Wednesday and Friday, and for Otters it's a Tuesday and Wednesday. So children should come to school in their PE kit, and obviously for wetter, colder days, if they could wear a jumper and joggers, just be prepared. On a Thursday afternoon, I'll be having my non-contact time. So the class will be covered by Mrs. Gopinath, who will be doing music and My Happy Mind.
And I won't be in class with the children on a Monday afternoon usually, and a Thursday afternoon, so that Miss Jones and I can plan together. And we're covered in here by Miss Thomas and Miss Goodwin. All the lessons are planned by us, and we do get feedback on how the children have got on that afternoon as well, and we will be marking any work that we set, so we do see what the children have done while we're not there. Homework, when it's up and running, will be set on a Friday, and we ask that that's completed on a Wednesday. And what we've talked about as well is to sort of remove books being sent home and coming back to school and vice versa. And we'll talk about this a little bit more when we get to the homework slide, but we're probably going to ask you to photograph it and email it in to us, just so that we can still see the children's work, because we're conscious that the children need to see a point that they want to share it with us, and that can be quite motivating for them as well. So we'll be setting spellings on a Monday and testing them on a Monday as well, and reading records brought into school daily, please, just so if we do hear them read, we've got somewhere to actually record that. Lunchtimes.
So children will order their lunch choices every day in the morning after registration. All dinners are free in Key Stage 1. They're very nice. And there's always a vegetarian option as well if your child chooses that. They can still bring a packed lunch as well, but we would ask that they don't bring any sweets, fizzy drinks, for their morning snack. If they could bring a healthy snack, a piece of fruit or something like that, that'd be greatly appreciated. And also no nuts as well, as some of our children and adults have a nut allergy.
Our curriculum. So our theme for the autumn term is Let's Go Exploring. So the reason for that is that we'll be focusing a lot on the lives of significant individuals as our history focus. So we will be comparing individuals from the past, explorers from the past. We'll be looking at Christopher Columbus and Neil Armstrong. We'll also be looking at sort of comparing how they were explorers, and we look at also some sailors and different explorers from more modern times as well. Linked in with that, we're looking at a lovely book called Look Up, which is about a little girl. It's inspired by Mae Jemison, who was the first African-American woman to go into space. So children are really, really loving that at the moment. That's really inspired them. Troll Swap is a fabulous book as well. And I know this might sound counterintuitive, but we would ask that you don't share the books with the children in advance, because it's lovely for us all to actually share them together. And if we ask the children to make predictions, which is something that we need evidence for in year 1 and year 2, obviously if the children have already read the book several times at home, we can't get that evidence that they're able to make sensible and appropriate predictions. So by all means, read it with them afterwards and share it with them afterwards, because they are gorgeous books. But yeah, if you could actually avoid reading them until then, that would be much appreciated. So having a big focus on place, value and number in the autumn term. In year 2, also looking at shape as a revision of what they looked at last year. Focusing on biology, so animals including humans. We're looking at invasion games, fundamental skills and online safety as well in the autumn term. So lots to fit in. So trips and residential, sadly, are currently on hold. We are looking at any opportunities within our curriculum to actually bring visitors into school instead. We've got a lovely idea for autumn 2 that we're hoping to bring some people in to support us with our English work, which will be non-fiction writing. But at the moment, we won't be going on any visits. I know that somebody emailed in and asked about Beeston, which is our transition residential at the end of year 2. It would be lovely if that could take place. It is booked, so we have got days booked, but it very, very much will depend on what the situation is at that time. We'd love it to go ahead, but obviously it would only happen if it was safe to do so. Do you want to go through this one? Do the next one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
So reading in year 1 and year 2, you might have noticed that we have changed slightly how we're sending books home and the books that your children are receiving at home. The reason for this is that the government and Ofsted have actually done something that we agree with. So we actually agree with what they're telling us to do at this moment in time, which is to send books home which are really closely linked to the phonics that they're learning in school. So currently we are recapping and consolidating on phonics that they may have previously encountered, but we need to make sure that that is embedded and really secure before we're then moving on. So what they'll be doing is they'll be bringing home a book which matches what they are learning in phonics that week or over the course of those few weeks. So ignore the colour, ignore the benchmarking colour, and instead look at the sticker on the front of the book. That is what you're looking for. Now, it may be necessary for us to continue to use benchmarking in school as an internal way of tracking children, but this won't be our primary means of deciding which books children bring home. So they will bring home one book which is linked to their phonics and one book which is reading for pleasure. So a book that they've chosen, that they really, really enjoy, that really inspires them and sort of maintains that love of reading, which is so, so, so important. You'll know that your child is making progress in their reading if they're reading with greater accuracy and fluency, they're using expression, and they're answering a growing range of questions that test their understanding. I know that benchmarking was a very clear way of seeing that your child was making these incremental steps in their reading, but that's really more that we would need to be focusing on. So greater accuracy and fluency, expression, comprehension, and really making sure that their understanding is strong. So if we're seeing growth in that area, then they are making progress in their reading.
So reading in year 1 and 2. So in reading, we teach it through lots of different ways. We teach it through phonics and guided reading, which takes place every day in school, and also individual readers. So your child will be read with during the week by a teacher in school. Reading records are really, really important. A child will take a reading record and 2 books home in their book bags. So if you could read at night with them, that'd be amazing. 5-10 minutes just to help them hear them read and decode words and help them sound out, and obviously test their comprehension as well. They can also change their books twice a week in school. That will usually take place when we read individually with them or through guided reading. I think that's that.
Yeah, just making sure that they're reading the book several times just to build up that fluency rather than just rushing through it is incredibly important.
A little bit of exciting news to add on our reading as well is we've just put the order in for an online reading resource, which Miss Maddox and Miss Jones and Miss Nicholas were really keen on. So you'll soon be getting some information on the e-book. That's what it's called, isn't it, Miss Maddox?
E-book? Yes, I think it is, yeah.
So that will be coming through once we've had the training through. So you'll have the paper books, but you'll also have a range of electronic books in those phonics stages as well.
So we all want to develop in our children a love of reading. That's incredibly important. So we'd still be encouraging you, even when your child is a confident and competent reader, still having those bedtime stories is incredibly important, because obviously you will be able to access a book that they would not be able to access on their own. So you're exposing them to much more sort of adventurous and exciting vocabulary, which hopefully then they will feed into their writing. So enjoying stories together is crucial. Reading little and often is important. One of the guides that we use, and it is guidance rather than statutory, but one of the guides we use at the end of year 2 is that they can read 90 words per minute in year 2 of an age appropriate book. So you will know that your child is reading fluently if they can read with accuracy at that speed. Talking about the story before, during and afterwards, certainly during a guided reading session, we would probably spend more time talking about the book than we would reading it. And that's crucial for developing a love of language and really, really checking that the children are understanding what they're reading, that their comprehension is really strong. Looking at the definitions of words together can be lovely. So sometimes children will just read and skim through a word they don't understand, and we want them to get into the habit of actually questioning the meaning of a word, and then that way it will actually help boost their vocabulary as well. And obviously visiting the library as much as you can, and the librarians there are really, really good. If you've got a child who is really stuck rigidly with one author, they will be able to advise you on other authors that your child might really love.
Lovely. Writing in year 1. So this is just an overview of what writing in year 1 looks like and what we'd hope to expect to see at the end of year 1. So sitting and holding a pencil correctly is a huge thing in year 1. We even have a song for the children of how to hold their pencil correctly. You might have heard them saying it at home. It's all about their free friends hold and getting their picking fingers up and laying their pencil on the side of their hand and getting their pillow finger underneath, just to make sure that they're holding their pencil correctly and also not putting their fingers too tight together, that they're leaving a little gap in between. So that's a huge focus in year 1, and we do sing that song quite a bit as well, so they might come home singing it. We also look at beginning to form lowercase letters in the correct direction, forming our capital letters correctly, and another huge thing is being able to think and orally rehearse a sentence before we write it down. I always ask the children before they even pick up their pencil to say their sentence out loud, just to make sure it makes sense before they write it. Using finger spaces in between their words, so it's where they actually physically get their finger and place it at the end of a word they've written to ensure that they leave a space in between their words. Punctuate sentences with capital letters, full stops, question marks or exclamation marks. Rereading their sentences just to double check that they make sense, and they should begin to use conjunctions such as and to join clauses. and spell common exception words. There's a list of the Year 1 common exception words on the class page as well, if you'd like to have a look at them and maybe go through them at home as well.
And writing in Year 2, obviously, we need to make sure that we've mastered all of those Year 1 objectives, so they need to be in place, and then we'll be building on them, writing simple and coherent narratives. So a piece of writing that flows, that makes sense, writing about different events, both real and fictional, making sure that tense is secure, that they're not flitting between present and past tense in a piece of writing. We look for a much wider range of conjunctions, so words that join ideas together within sentences. Common exception words as well in Year 2, they can be found on our class page, making sure that capital letters and basic punctuation is consistent, and that question marks are used as well where they're needed. Handwriting is really important. We work really, really hard on that. It's been lovely to see the children taking such care of their presentation. That's been lovely. And making sure an appropriate distance between letters and words is maintained. So I know we think a lot about a space between words, but also making sure that the space between letters within words is also appropriate.
So this is again just an overview of what your child will be learning in maths in Year 1. So our focus this autumn term is place value. So they will be learning how to count, read and write numbers up to 100, identifying one more and one less of any given number, read and write numbers 1 to 20 in numerals and also in words, counting in multiples of 2, 5 and 10, number bonds and subtraction facts within 20, adding and subtracting 1 and 2 digit numbers to 20, solving problems like multiplication, division, finding half and quarter, solving problems for length, height, weight, mass, capacity and volume, recognising money, so the different value of coins and notes, which I'm sure if you could show them at home they would really, really enjoy. They always love getting the money out in class and pretending that they're buying things. Recognising use days of the week and months of the year. Beginning to tell the time to the hour as well and half past the hour. Naming and recognising common 2D and 3D shapes and their properties, and also describing movement and position.
And maths in Year 2, again, so we would expect to see mastery of all of those Year 1 objectives. Obviously, our focus this half term will be looking at the properties of 2D and 3D shapes, because I know that they worked really hard on that in Year 1, so we've done that as a recap. And our focus again will be on place value to make sure that all those building blocks are secure. I know you've heard a lot in the media about the idea of a catch-up curriculum. Obviously, our job is to make sure that we don't rush too quickly into the Year 1 objectives and into the Year 2 objectives. We need to make sure that those building blocks that should have come before that are in place. That's incredibly important. And certainly the advice that we are getting is that we are not to rush this stage. It's incredibly important that we get it right. And that's exactly what we plan to do. I know a lot of parents ask how they can help best at home, and it goes without saying we will be covering these areas of maths in class, absolutely we will, and thoroughly. But if you particularly wanted to help with maths, either in Year 1 or in Year 2, the two areas where it would be particularly helpful would be money and also time. So those are two really good areas of maths where you can do that with you know, you've got the resources at home. If you've got a piggy bank or a money jar at home, or you know, a bottle that you keep all of your loose change in, just going through that, recognising coins, counting up in multiples of 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, 50, understanding that with different ways of making 10 pence, 20 pence, 50 pence, all of those things give your children such a head start. So it means then that we can move slightly more quickly through those objectives and spend more time on other objectives that perhaps they're struggling with. Also time, if you can be looking at that at home, is huge, because obviously an analog clock is a very, very interesting thing to look at at first, but it doesn't actually make much sense to you. So those are two areas that you can really, really help with. Homework at the moment is going to look like this, but we will be We will be setting it over the next couple of weeks. The most important thing for us was to make sure that the children's well-being was our top priority on re-entry into school, and that we got to know the children. But we will be setting homework, and it will be more of a menu style. So there'll be things each week that we would ask that you do, such as reading, spellings. We'll be setting things on My Maths, but we'll also send home and put available on our website a menu, so you can pick and choose the activities that you want to do that your child is most interested in, and they'll be from a range of different activities and genres and fitting in with our topics. You can pick and choose what you want to do, and then we will include more details on the website, but probably the best way to share it with us will be to photograph it and actually email it to us. So yeah, we'll make sure, because it will be slightly different for both classes, we'll make sure that's on our website as soon as we do start sending homework home. You've not missed any. If anyone is panicking, we have not yet sent any homework home. The children are not lying to you. We haven't sent any. End of Key Stage 1 tests. So it's a formal assessment. We are incredibly mindful that your children are 6 and 7 when they sit these tests, and under no circumstances will this year be about getting ready for these SATs. We absolutely wouldn't let that happen. Currently, despite the fact that we were closed last year, I think the government is still planning for these children to be sitting the SATs. We will make sure that the children are adequately prepared whilst making sure it is not a year about sitting a test. So the focus is on reading and maths. There'll be a scaled score that's generated based on how many correct marks they get out of the paper. Unlike the Year 6 SATs, we do not send them to be marked externally, we mark them internally. And it is purely a sort of backup, if you like, for another reference point for me when I'm making my teacher assessment. So they inform my judgment, and we don't share the scores of the test externally. We use them for our own internal judgment. So for instance, if your child has performed really well all year, but just has a bad week, I would disregard the score on their paper, and I would look at how they performed over the course of the year. And that's much more important. That's going to give me a much more rounded view of how your child has been performing. There's an optional grammar and punctuation and spelling test, which we'll probably do outside of the SATs window. What I would ask again is that you don't use the previous SATs papers at home. They are available for you to view online, but there are only a limited number of them that actually fit with the new style SATs paper. Obviously, I will need to use those in school as both a teaching tool and as an assessment tool, and it's helpful if they haven't spent the weekend actually doing them already. So certainly, if you're curious, go and have a look online and look at some previous SATs papers so you could get an idea of what your child will be facing in May, June time. And there are other sort of supporting materials if you were particularly keen to support them in that way, but rest assured, we're not going to make them sit a test that we haven't prepared them for. So they will have enough practice so that they're not phased. It's all done in a very light and happy way. Some of them love it and they're like, oh no, I want to do more test papers. And then we bribe them with a party on the Friday. So everything's fine. It's a really, really happy week. So you don't need to worry. They certainly won't be worried. That it will be absolutely fine. It's just something that we have to do. So we will do it. Praise and encourage. Make sure your child has the best possible attendance at school, homework, talk about what they've learned in school, in the run up to SATs week as well, good sleep and healthy breakfast, and then just keep little things ticking over. All those things will help them perform well in SATs week, but it is not the be all and end all. Far more important is how they've performed over the course of the year.
Lovely. Phonics screening. So again, this is a national assessment that all Year 1 children in England take, usually in June. And all it is a test that contains 40 words. So 20 of those are real words, 20 of those are fake words. And they'll use their phonics skills and knowledge that they've learned over reception in Year 1 to decode and read those words correctly. Real words are simply words that will make sense. So there'll be words like cake that they can use their phonics knowledge to decode and sound out, and a fake word or an alien word, as we'll start to call them, are just words that won't make sense. So they'll have the same sounds, such as the split digraph A in cake, but it's just a combination of letters that won't make sense, such as gake, which doesn't mean anything, but they'll still try and read that word correctly. And all it is just a tool again to help give teachers and parents some information about how your child is progressing in phonics and if they need any additional support in their phonics in year 2. So it's nothing to worry about. They love sorting out real and alien words in school. We do it on a daily basis. You might hear ob and bob, which is a game we will play a lot in school. Bob is for real words, ob is for aliens. Those words that just don't make any sense, but they can still read them and sound them out and decode them. If you'd like to help your child, just prepare a little bit and share love of reading. Read every day. They'll bring home reading books, so it'd be amazing if you could spend 5-10 minutes reading with them. And also share magazines, share books with them, take them to the library to choose books and also read to them. Practice reading keywords and sounds that they'll get in their weekly spellings, and their weekly spellings will contain all of the phonics they've been learning that week, so they'll hopefully be expected to have learned those and get more practice in spelling those words. And also you can play games online at Phonics Play. We use this website every day in school. They'll be really, really familiar with it, and they do really enjoy playing the games. We even had some children playing them in their choosing time today. That's what they asked to do.
So I put this up because I have a little boy who's in year 2 over in a school over in Wrexham, and when I ask him how his day went, what he did in school, I don't know. I don't remember. I don't know. So I've had to resort to posing multiple choice questions. Did you sit with Eleanor or did you sit with Layla? In discovery time and choosing time, did you go in the writing area or did you play with the blocks? And sometimes he will actually give me an answer and feel sorry for me and throw me a bone and actually give me some additional information about his day. So if you have a child like mine and you do actually want to know what they've been doing in school, these are some questions that might actually prompt a response beyond I don't know or I've forgotten or whatever response you tend to get. So I just thought that made me smile when I saw it. So some of those questions might help you to tease a little bit more information out of them. Your children are happy here. We have lots of smiles. Book bags. So we asked for book bags because it's quite difficult to store rucksacks. We can't keep them on the pegs. Book bags are helpful because we have a box that they fit in really neatly. So it's helpful you can bring those in. Obviously PE kits, you don't need to bring them into school, but obviously you'll be wearing them on your allocated days. And water bottles, because obviously in the current climate we can't really be sharing around cups as easily. It means an adult going to have to clean cups, bring them back. So water bottles every day, please, is really helpful.
So it's over to you guys now. Thank you so much to Miss Maddox and Miss Jones for all of that information. Hope you all found it really useful. So if you would like to type your questions into the chat, and we'll see if we can answer them between us. So the first one is for Miss Maddox. Will year 2 be doing the phonics screening as they didn't do it in year 1?
Yes, they will, and we're delighted about that because we love phonics and we're really excited about any opportunity to prove that we can do it. We will be sitting the phonics screen, we'll be sitting a previous paper, and we'll be doing it at some point in the autumn term. Phonics is a huge focus in Key Stage 1 and reception anyway, because it is the foundation of everything else. So again, your children will be properly prepared for it. The main focus is obviously on high quality phonics teaching, but we will make sure that they also have sort of test practice, if you like, making sure that they've got effectively exam technique. So yes, and we will be ready for it.
Okay, so the next question is, will parents learn the results of the SATs and are they used for setting?
What we will do is, because the SAT scores inform my judgment, we will share with you in your report the teacher assessment that I have done on your children. So I will say how they've performed in reading, in writing, and in maths, and the SAT score will have fed into that. If you want a separate SAT score, so what they actually got on paper, you can ask me for that and I will gladly provide it, but that will have been purely to inform the judgment that I will have been sharing with you anyway.
Okay, so when you talk about your class page, what do you mean by that?
So if you go onto the school website, and if you look at classes, there's a drop-down box, and year 1 are otters, no, you're rabbits, I'm otters, and if you click on that tab, it will take you to our class page, and within that there are other separate tabs which take you to pages within pages, and we will update them, and there are documents that you can download if you scroll down to the bottom of those pages as well.
And will there be any additional reading support in year 1?
I would say that we do individual readers, and we do guided reading every day, and also everything we write or read is modelled for them. We do quite a bit of sounding out and reading, and we also have a lady coming in to do additional reading with some children.
Mrs. Robbins.
Mrs. Robbins,
yeah, lots of you will know Mrs.
Yeah.
Robbins. We've dragged her back in from retirement for 2 days to help year 1 and year 2 with additional phonics and reading support.
Another question, even though they're doing some maths at home in lockdown, they feel like they've missed quite a bit. So will there be a recap of the year 1 maths in year 2?
Absolutely. So as I alluded to in the presentation, regardless of whether there'd been a lockdown, I still would need to make sure that year 1 objectives were mastered before I then moved on to year 2 objectives, and that hasn't really changed. As I said, we're calling it a catch-up curriculum, so my job is to make sure that the year 1 objectives are secure and I've taught them before moving the children on. So it's very much where we're teaching them at the pace the children are ready for, because we do not want to leave gaps, because we're just setting the children up then for difficulties further on in school. So yes, we will be looking back at the key objectives from year 1 that we think children have missed, and that will be true not just in maths but across the board.
The other question is regarding the size of the class, and we've had this question through on an email as well, because you'll all be aware that the otters class is a big class and the rabbits class isn't a big class. So rabbits class started with us really small and is still small. Our current reception class, we've got 40 children, so there's 2 classes, but then in our current otters class we are over 30 with them, so there's currently 33 in the class and potentially 1 more joining. What governors did set previously when we've had such growth happening is that we would review this if the class got to 36. So if we find that there's inquiries and applications coming through, that will be something that myself, Miss Maddox and the SLT will sit down with governors and we'll look at what's the best way forward for our children in that scenario. Is it best to split? Is it best to put additional adults in? So with it being over 30 at the moment, we do have Miss Maddox, who's a deputy, so one of our strongest teachers in there, as well as our 2 TAs, and we have some additional help going in as well for Miss Maddox, and we're constantly reviewing that. So it's a changing feast all the time. We've had some children leave, some children join, lots of children join throughout lockdown. So it's something we're constantly monitoring. So I can assure you that, but we're making the most use of the spaces that we've got with the spare classroom next door. And I know Miss Maddox is doing an amazing job working with the team she's got to make sure that your children are getting the best deal that they can with being in such a big class. So that's something we're very, very aware of. So I hope that answers any questions. So obviously, as soon as I know anything more, we will be letting you know. One thing I can say is that the year 2 otters will be going into split classes next year. With the current numbers in our year 3 and the numbers as the year 2 goes up, the numbers allow us to maintain that 3-class structure. So that will definitely happen for next September. So we've had another question that, is it possible to send emails with links to the homework resource, please, rather than parents having to remember to go to the class page and possibly or probably forgetting to do so?
What we will do is, because we'll be sending optional homework home as a menu, we will upload those documents onto our class pages, which could be found on the school's website, but we can also send that as a PDF to you. We can email that to you. So then that will be the one document that you would look at for this term for your homework options. So hopefully that will make things a bit easier. We will always listen, so if you do have requests and suggestions, please just email us or leave a message in the office, and we will always review how we're communicating with you, because we understand that this is not how any of us would ideally want to be doing this. So if you can think of little things that we can do that make your lives easier as well, then please let us know, and we will always listen. We'll always talk about it.
So we have another question. How will the class be split in year 3? Is it on age or ability? We actually do have our policy that and frequently asked questions on this area. So I will get this sent out. So I'll ask the office to do that tomorrow. At the moment in time, we split our classes on age, and we take any special educational needs into consideration. So the SENCO will always look at that. And for example, one year we had twins, and they fell at that cut-off point with one twin in one class and one in the other. So in that scenario, we actually went to the parent and said, what would you prefer? Because it didn't matter as much to us as it would to that parent. And some parents might have want them in separate classes, some might want them together. So we did give that choice over to the parent at that point. But we'll send lots more information out nearer the time, and it will be carefully looked at. And as I said, the office will send you that document that gives you exactly what the rationale is behind the split and why we do it the way we do it. Okay, that I think at this moment in time is the end of the questions. So I'll give you a moment or two. If there are any more burning questions that you have, if you'd like to type them in rapidly, I'd just like to say thank you to you all for joining us this evening, and also thank you to Miss Maddox and Miss Jones for doing such a great job of sharing a lot of information in a very strange way. It's not the way that we like to do this. We normally like to have you in class and you can see the environment your children are in. You can smell the environment because it smells good. That your children, most of the time, tends to be year 6 that arrangement changes. Yeah. So if you can just bear with us during these really, really challenging times, hopefully we'll be able to get you back in as soon as we can. Okay, someone's asked, will there be availability to chat over Zoom on individual basis? SLT are meeting next week, and we're planning when and how exactly to do Parents' Evening, whether or not that will be Zoom or if it will be telephone, or if it might be a mixture of both. So that's something that we're looking at, lots of different ways that different schools are doing that. So if you have any ideas, any requests, please email them in and we can consider those when we meet. That'll be next week. And there was a question, do you know how you might do Parents' Evening yet? Hopefully I've covered that one. I think we worry a bit more as current year 2 have had a few disrupted knees. I think that might be disrupted years with things that can't be helped, but just worry. Oh, there you go, years, not knees. There you go. So yes, we are aware that, of course, they had Mrs. Davis in reception who broke a leg. and was out for a term, and then we had lockdown. So oh goodness, I must have been really still, my light's just gone off. So yes, they have had a disrupted start, and we're really aware of that, and hence why we're wanting to work so closely with them, and why Miss Maddox has got a team around her as she works with them. So that's something that we are very aware of. I think you'd agree, wouldn't you, Miss Maddox?
Definitely, yeah, definitely. I'm really well supported. Miss Thomas is amazing. Miss Goodwin is fantastic as well. We've got Mrs. Robbins in for 2 days. We also have another adult who comes in 2 mornings. So actually, sometimes we've actually got 4 adults in here. So given that we're a large class, actually the ratio per adult per child is actually looking pretty good most mornings. And there's always at least 2 of us. We are really mindful that we want this year to be as calm and as uneventful as possible, and just make sure the children feel happy and safe and contented and can learn, and we can catch up on as much as we possibly can and stand them in good stead then for their move into Key Stage 2.
We're praying for no positive cases. We're praying for no local lockdown. We are washing our hands within an inch of our life, and we're not interacting with anyone we shouldn't be. So it's hopefully this year we'll see them have some more stability. Someone's asked for confirmation regarding parents' evening and finding out about child's personal progression. So we will be having a parents' evening. As I said, it'll be probably before half term. We're going to be assessing the children more regularly. We normally do it once a term. We're going to be doing it once a half term, and you'll have a meeting with parents. Teachers will have a meeting with parents this term, next term, and then there'll be an opportunity in the summer, and there'll be to discuss the report that you receive as well. Someone's asked what happens if the children are isolating at home. So if children are isolating at home, so for example, if there was somebody in the rabbit class who tested positive, then we would speak to Public Health England, and funnily enough, I was speaking on a meeting with a lot of heads from Cheshire West and Cheshire East today, and there's a lot of schools in this situation at the moment. So it might be that the rabbit bubble is just the bubble that goes into isolation for 2 weeks, with Miss Jones being in isolation and Miss Gopinath, and Miss Jones would then facilitate home learning. So it would be through our School Spider website. So if you don't have access to a device, you'd need to let us know urgently, and we could drop one of the surfaces that we have in school on your doorstep. Obviously you wouldn't be able to come out, so we could do a doorstep drop for that. And then Miss Jones would continue to teach the children in the topics and the learning that they're doing, everything, utilising School Spider with activities, and also utilising some of the Oak National Academy and the BBC Bite Size. Now, we won't be doing live lessons because there's too many things around a live lesson, the things to go wrong. But what you might find is the teachers are doing teaching videos. So there'd be Miss Jones might record a 5-minute video that she'd put on the YouTube channel of what she wants the children to do, and then you'd be able to do that activity with the children. Miss Jones, Miss Maddox, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, I think that's it. I think there's a comment that's just come up about if somebody's self-isolating, what happens with that specific child. We'd be, I think, directing them to use Oak National Academy. I don't think it would be, obviously if we're teaching the majority of the class, then setting work as well alongside that wouldn't really be appropriate, because we couldn't teach that child whilst also teaching that class, if that makes sense. So we'd be directing them to other sources, and we would offer any support that we could. But yeah, we'd make sure as well. I know I've left a lot of the resources and links on my class page that were helpful during lockdown, so they can still be accessed. Yeah, if you are in that situation and you're concerned, that your child's going to miss another 2 weeks, then please let us know, and we'll direct you to what we think is going to be helpful, and we'll help you in any way that we can.
Yeah, the teachers really, the home learning from teachers would be if the whole bubble was off. Individuals, it would be through, you know, direction from the teacher, as Miss Maddox said, to alternative sites, because it just wouldn't work teaching the class and teaching someone at home as well. So that's hopefully we won't have. Let's pray we don't have any of those cases. Let's just, you never know. We never know. Okay. Is there any more questions that you'd like to ask? I think someone said thank you so much. So I agree. Thank you so much, Miss Maddox and Miss Jones. As we said, this has been recorded this evening. So what we'll do now is I'll download it onto the YouTube channel, and Miss Maddox and Miss Jones will put it onto their class page, and we'll send the link out to you. So hopefully everything's been covered and your questions have been answered, but don't worry if not, you can always email anything in. I know it's so hard not being able to talk to us as we normally would, but emails will always get through. If you send them to the office, they will make sure that they get through to the right person. And have a lovely evening, everyone. We're halfway through the week, so enjoy whatever you're up to, and we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.